We are here with our big predictions for the just announced Nintendo Partner Showcase, Nintendo Direct Partner Showcase.
A Nintendo Direct is on the way, but is it the big banger February Direct that we often get? I tend to think no. I think we both have some muted expectations for this one. Let's just start by looking at what they posted.
Right.
A Nintendo Direct Partner Showcase is coming. Watch on demand via YouTube on 2/21 at 6 a.m. Pacific for around 25 minutes of info focused on Nintendo Switch games coming in the first half of 2024 from our publishing and development partners.
Mm-hmm.
So, on demand.
Right.
First indicator.
First clue that it might be a little bit
not
low
streamed.
Key. Yeah.
I saw some people saying, like, well, they used to call these partner showcase minis, and this is not mini. I mean, it is 25 minutes. That's a pretty good amount of information.
Yeah.
But I think everybody was onto the fact that, like, when you saw mini, it was like,
this is going to be lame.
Maybe I could skip that. So
right.
I think they're wise to that as well. And you know, want a Nintendo Direct to always be a big and impactful thing that people tune into, whether they're streamed or not. So some good expectation management by the old Ninty there, as they always do.
They're very careful with that. So yes, you can tell right there in the way that they announced it. And it was also announced at kind of a weird time.
It was.
We were noting that, and others as well. Usually they announce 24 hours in advance. But yeah, it was announced at a bit of a strange time, like an afternoon timing. And of course the showcase is going to be made live on YouTube. The video will go live on YouTube very early our time, Pacific time. So yeah, it is a bit of a strange, there's some strangeness, I think, overall around the anticipation leading up to this, the rumors about it being this, partner direct, and then not happening last week, and then getting announced at a strange time this week. So anyhow, here we are. We have it. So let's talk about what we think is going to be in it.
Yeah, so something we would always do at Nintendo is there would always be a purpose to a Nintendo Direct, and oftentimes it would be something as simple as continue enthusiasm for the Switch. So what do you think the purpose of this Nintendo Direct is, especially as a partner showcase?
Yeah, that's a good thing to point out, because that's true. There's always a strategy behind all of these. It's not just for, they don't put out...
It's not just, let's fart out some games.
Exactly. Nintendo never puts out a Direct for the sake of putting it out a Direct. I think for this one, it is still about keeping people's focus on Switch. Everybody has seen all the rumors now. There's been so much just swirling out there about this next thing, this, Switch 2 stuff. But Nintendo is still very incentivized to keep people's focus, at least for a little while longer, on Switch. So I do think that this showcase is a way to do that, and especially a way to have that message that, hey, we still have a lot of third-party developers and partners and people outside of Nintendo supporting Switch. So you guys should pay attention as well. So that's kind of what I think is going on.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're just trying to show some continued life in the Switch. There's not a ton of first-party games on the docket right now, so let's get a few more of those out there. Let's take a closer look at some that we think are promising. There is also the connection to Microsoft and the event that they had last week. Right. I do think we'll see some of those games. We'll get into that when we get into the predictions.
Yes.
So I think those are probably the two main ones, is really introduce Microsoft as this new partner, and then just kind of push out, hey, you thought the Switch was out of games in a couple months? Well, look at this. We got even more than you thought.
The other thing is that also at a very strange time, the Pokemon Day event, the Pokemon Direct or whatever they call it, also got announced yesterday in the night. In the night, it was officially confirmed. So this is a very interesting partner showcase, Nintendo Direct, because it's sort of sandwiched between the Xbox business update that happened, which was very strategic, high level for Xbox, talking about some of these games going multi-platform. We think that these games are coming to Switch, and then on the other side, bookended by the Pokemon event, which might also have some bigger Pokemon announcements as well. So
Pokemon
it is a very...
coming to Xbox. I see what you're saying. Follow
Got
the
it.
money.
We figured it out.
Got it.
We figured it out. We figured it out.
So there is this one other wrinkle to this direct, which is interesting, which is Puro, the leaker, the notorious leaker.
Yes, Puro.
Has in their illustrious career a very high hit rate on predicting, you could say leaking, content that is in a direct. And Puro has been out there really signaling a number of things, maybe not outright saying exactly what it is in some cases, but outright saying in other cases.
Right.
So I kind of want to start with that just as a baseline, because it's interesting. It's like there's a chunk of stuff that feels like we kind of know what it is.
Exactly.
So let's start by going through that. First, Puro was saying, is Game Freak a partner? And so signaling that there's some sort of a game from Game Freak that's going to be shown. Obviously, Game Freak develops Pokemon, but they also develop some other games.
They do.
So I think, in a partner showcase, especially with Pokemon Day in a week,
exactly,
it's not going to be something Pokemon, it's going to be something else.
Right.
And some people have pointed out that they have this game that's coming with Private Division called Project Bloom, which they teased last year. But I took a closer look at the fine print on that. Expected to launch during Take-Two's fiscal year 2026. That's still a long way away.
Yeah, we're not going to make it to that.
It's 2024, folks.
Yeah.
So there's a number of options, but people seem to be rallying around this idea of Pocket Card Jockey, which came to Apple Arcade about a year ago. So that exclusivity could be coming up.
Exactly. I think that's the most likely culprit. Like, I don't think people should get their hopes up that, any sort of big Pokemon announcement is going to happen during this partner showcase, because for sure, 100%, the Pokemon company is going to squirrel that away for their own event literally a week later. So if it's Game Freak something, it's going to be a non-Pokemon game. I do think Pocket Card Jockey is such a good candidate for this because, yes, the Apple Arcade, it was exclusively on Apple Arcade for a year. You were very upset about that because you and I both love this game. I'm
not getting Apple Arcade. I'm sorry.
I have Apple Arcade, so I've been playing Pocket Card Jockey, as we affectionately call Pocky Jockey. Pocky Jockey. I play it a lot, so I'm glad if they bring it to Switch. That's awesome because I think a lot of people will really enjoy it. So.
I mean, if this is, probably just, a rezzed up version of the original, this would be a get hype moment for me, honestly. Like this would make the whole thing worthwhile if we got Pocket Card Jockey on the Switch. So
it's a great game.
It's looking good.
If anyone is sleeping on Pocky Jockey, don't.
Get on.
Get on, yes.
The next thing that Puro suggested said, is Nintendo a partner? And then follow that up by saying sometimes Nintendo can be a partner because they love dolphins.
Right.
Which I think a lot of people went initially to GameCube games coming to NSO, but then Puro had some other tweets, and people seem to be rallying around this idea of an Endless Ocean game.
Those games are fun.
Endless Ocean is a series that was on the Wii. There were a couple of those on the Wii.
Yes.
Really cool games where you're sort of exploring as a diver under the water, very like low stress,
atmospheric, just like the sound of being underwater. Again, it's like such a cool, almost like sleeper hit.
Right.
So yeah.
I don't know what would make this a fit for the partner direct. Maybe they have given the rights to another company to make Endless Ocean games. But, again, we talk about, we're in the late life cycle of the Switch, like kind of in the mode of like, well, what IP do we have that we have not yet put on the Switch that could keep people interested in playing? And I think Endless Ocean is a great candidate for that. I'd be excited at this too.
Me too. Yeah. I'm a huge fan of Endless Ocean. I think that point you made about sort of digging deep into their IP wells is exactly what Nintendo is doing right now. We were talking about this on our podcast about, what other sort of little like, IP that has Nintendo not pulled out in a while. Chibi Robo was one of them as well. So it's like they do have this sort of secondary bench of more obscure IP, but still IP that people are super passionate and really love. And yeah, I think Endless Ocean is absolutely one of those. And I would be very excited to play Endless Ocean again. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. Next, this is where you got to look closely at even the replies for Puro. Because I found something interesting here. So somebody says, this guy a partner? And this is the character from Shin Megami Tensei. And Puro says, obviously, yes. And people have been talking about this Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance, which is kind of, an updated version of Shin Megami Tensei 5. A lot of the community has been wondering when that's going to be coming to Switch. So that looks, again, if Puro maintains the accuracy, seems like that's going to be in here too.
Yeah.
So that's great. Another good JRPG on the Switch. And then finally, I couldn't even find the tweet where Puro mentioned this, but everybody was saying, well, Puro said there's going to be a demo for Contra Operation Galuga, which is that very iffy looking Contra game that was announced a couple directs back. So that's like four things.
Pretty big things. That's like half the direct, basically, right there.
Right. I mean, we've still got like 18 hours to go, so maybe Puro will drop a couple things or two until then. But I mean, that's a lot to start off, like kind of knowing like, okay, this will be in there unless Puro's lost their way.
Yeah. We'll see what happens, but it seems to have a pretty good track record, so we can go in with some confidence. I think that these announcements will be there.
So why don't we talk about Xbox now?
Yes.
Because obviously there were rumors that this event was moved to give Xbox the space to do their event last week.
Right.
Which happened, and they indicated that there are 4 Xbox games coming to the Switch and the PlayStation 5. Most people think, and we tend to agree, that these games are Hi-Fi Rush, Pentiment, Sea of Thieves, and Grounded.
Yes.
Of those 4, what do you think we get in this event?
Hi-Fi Rush, 100%.
So you think we just get 1?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
And
I think it's going to be a shadow drop as well.
I agree with that.
Hi-Fi Rush, immediately available tomorrow.
I've seen some people saying Pentiment, but there's been a lot of smoke to the Hi-Fi Rush coming. Like, and I think it got rated in some countries, whereas like there hasn't been as much chatter about Pentiment. So I also lean Hi-Fi Rush, and I like the idea of that being a shadow drop as well. Now, wouldn't it be cool? Sea of Thieves is developed by Rare. Wouldn't it be cool to have Rare do a nice message saying, hey, Nintendo fans, we're back in a Nintendo Direct? I don't think this is going to be a shadow drop. I don't think the game's coming out tomorrow, but I think that would be a really nice thing for fans to see.
I was going to say,
oh my gosh, like full circle, Rare is back. They're going to have a new, their current game that they're supporting on the Switch. That would be a really heartwarming moment. Will they do it? I just have this here as a sentimental thing.
I think that's.
I could see it happening, though.
I could see it happening because let's talk about the purpose of this Direct. They do want to, when Nintendo does partner directs, they do want to kind of trot out the cream of the crop partners. That this is an event for Nintendo to show that a lot of people are supporting Nintendo hardware, are supporting Nintendo platforms. So it bodes well for them to have something like this kind of partnership. Rare is coming back for the fans kind of message, because it signals that they are supportive of Nintendo and potentially could even develop more things for Switch 2 when that gets announced. So I think that kind of does like the pave the way kind of strategy that Nintendo has in the past been a big fan of and has done before. So yeah, I think it could absolutely happen.
If they're smart, they would do it. Put it in that category.
Yeah. If you're smart, that do it.
Yeah. So those other games, we'll hear about those later. There's no need to announce all 4 at once.
Right.
Okay. After that, this is where we're getting a bit into some iffy stuff, and this is where my expectations really fall off. Yeah.
My hope, and I don't know if this is going to happen or not, but I would really love a level 5 focused update in this partner showcase. That is a partner that Nintendo is, they consider them a very important partner. We've done a lot of, we were working at Nintendo, we worked a lot with level 5. And there has been some, announcements already about level 5 and games coming to Switch. So I just would like a really concrete update on that, if possible.
That's on my list too. I was looking closely at the latest on those games. So they've announced a couple games for Switch. We have a new Professor Layton game. There's this game, Deca Police, and then the next Fantasy Life. Now, they did have a number of delays. So Professor Layton is now a 2025 game. Oops. Deca Police, depending on where you look, is either late this year or 2025 as well. Fantasy Life, though, seems to be in the summertime. So that's the one that I have my eye on, of us getting some sort of an update and maybe a firm launch date for.
Yeah.
And that would be cool. Fantasy Life is a great game, a great series. I could see people really looking forward to that as a game to play in the summer.
I agree that Professor Layton is probably a bit unlikely because yes, we've seen the delays for that. But yeah, I'm a huge we're both huge Fantasy Life fans, I think. So if we got Fantasy Life, I think we would all be like pretty excited about that. So yeah, but any sort of like just more concrete update on what is all happening at level 5, I think would be amazing to put into this direct, and I think it's very likely to happen as well.
I have two more things that again, they're not going to like make or break this direct, but I think we'll see them. Unicorn Overlord is a very promising game coming out next month. They've been putting out a lot of updates, but the game looks great and it looks like it'll really hit the Nintendo audience. So I think we'll just get some sort of an update on that. Mm-hmm. And then the other one is this, the next Sonic game, Sonic and Shadow Generations. That was announced in a state of play. I mean, Sonic seems to do best on Nintendo platforms, so I could see them doing like, hey, in case you missed this, in case you're not following the PlayStation news, let's just introduce you to this game. They've had trailers on their channel of this, but as far as like really introducing it to the Nintendo audience, I could see them like, let's properly do that in this direct. Mm-hmm. But again, not a lot of new information. This is not going to like excite. This is not going to be a pop off moment. It's going to be kind of rehashing stuff we already know.
Exactly. So you don't think Hollow Knight Silksong will be shadow dropped tomorrow?
I'm not going there. I'm not touching that game.
I have to say it every time.
We have to say it.
I have to say it every time.
I saw people pointing out like, hey, that game was announced 5 years ago. Which wow.
What's going to be coming out first, Hollow Knight Silksong or Metroid Prime 4?
I don't know.
That's a race to the bottom right now.
I don't know. That's in the do not touch, do not mention category for me. I have one more big brain thing.
Yes, tell me.
Like, I was thinking like, well, what else could they do to kind of beef this up? And it's a partner showcase. In the pre-promotion, they talk about Switch games, but could we potentially see something from one of their non-game partners as a way to extend? I wrote down Lego.
Lego is always a possibility.
Right. So they have all those Animal Crossing sets. Could this be a chance to show those off or even announce some sort of a new set? And again, kind of bend the rules of this direct where it's like, yeah, it's partners. Like, oh, well, we're thinking broadly about partners. We got all these other non-game partners too. Maybe we'll see something from them. I'm not feeling super confident in that. I'm just trying to think of how they could make this more impactful and maybe bump it from like a C+ to a B-.
Yeah, I think it's kind of unlikely. Those partners do tend to want to control those announcements and have it be, on their own channels. And it feels a little awkward to like shoehorn it into a event about games. So I do feel like that's maybe not as likely, but that's true. Nintendo does have partners other than game development partners. They have lots of partners. Right.
I'm just thinking if they're like really hurting, like, oh my gosh, we actually don't have that much content.
Yeah.
How can we beef this up a little bit?
Yeah.
And people would be excited for that, but I agree. It's not the most likely thing we've got here.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
That's all I got too.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
So I think the takeaway is manage your expectations. But, if some of that Puro stuff ends up working out, I would be extremely happy to come away with this with Pocket Card Jockey and Endless Ocean, and some sort of Unicorn Overlord is honestly a game I've had my eye on very closely. Yeah, that
looks fantastic.
Like if we get those three, I'm good, and I will be very pleased with this.
Yeah. I think it doesn't have to be like blockbuster ridiculous hits right now, but if we can get exactly some of these really great but more niche franchises that I think we both love those games, so it'd be great to have them see like the light of day again. I think I will not be disappointed. Let's hopefully the pacing is good and there's not like some random Bakugan nonsense.
So we will have a full reaction to the entire direct on our channel tomorrow, but leave us a comment and let us know what you think is coming if you got some other ideas.
Yeah. We'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.